The day he walked into her life was bright and ordinary, which made the moment feel dangerous. Sunlight spilled through the cafe windows, dust dancing in the air like tiny witnesses, and Mara felt her chest tighten with the kind of fear that only comes when something fragile might finally be touched. For 2 years she had kept her world sealed, carefully arranged, quietly surviving. She had learned how to smile without opening doors, how to exist without letting anyone step too close. And then a single father, carrying more responsibility than he showed, crossed the threshold of her routine and everything she had buried began to stir. Before the story pulls you all the way in, take a second to pause. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of human connection, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Journal. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that are still healing. Mara lived her days in daylight because night asked too many questions. She worked the morning shift at a small neighborhood cafe, the kind that smelled of roasted beans and warm bread before noon, the kind where regulars sat by the windows and watched the world go by. Her hands moved confidently, pouring coffee, wiping counters, arranging pastries, but her eyes carried a distance that never quite closed. 2 years earlier, her life had cracked open in a way that did not make headlines, the kind of quiet devastation that leaves no visible wreckage but changes everything inside. Trust had slipped away from her not in one dramatic moment but through a slow erosion, and when it finally collapsed, she promised herself she would not rebuild it for anyone. She filled her afternoons with long walks, grocery lists, and the gentle hum of daytime television, noise without meaning. Friends had drifted away, not because of conflict but because grief can be awkward when it lingers too long. She became skilled at being polite and unavailable at the same time. She told herself she was fine, and most days she believed it. But somewhere beneath the routines, beneath the safe predictability of her hours, was a loneliness that felt like standing in an open field with no wind. Jonah arrived on a Tuesday, pushing the cafe door open with his shoulder while guiding a small boy inside. The child's backpack was almost too big for him, the strap slipping, his steps uneven with excitement and fatigue. Jonah looked tired in a way that suggested responsibility rather than defeat. His hair was slightly unkempt, his clothes clean but worn by repetition, and there was a softness in his eyes that came from paying attention to someone else all the time. He ordered simply, thanked Mara with genuine warmth, and found a seat near the window where the light fell generously. Mara noticed the way Jonah helped his son with homework, the way he listened fully, the way he smiled with relief when the boy laughed. There was no performance in it, no attempt to impress. It was just care, visible and unguarded. She felt something shift, a subtle ache behind her ribs, and she pushed it away by focusing on her tasks. She had learned not to lean toward things that felt good too quickly. Days passed, and Jonah became part of the cafe's rhythm. He came in late mornings after school drop-offs, always during the day, always with that quiet steadiness. Sometimes his son, Eli, was with him, chattering softly, drawing pictures at the table. Other times Jonah came alone, reading or working on a laptop, pausing often to look out the window as if checking that the world was still there. They exchanged smiles, nods, the small courtesies of familiar strangers. Mara kept everything light, safe, surface level, and yet she found herself looking for him when the bell over the door rang. Her resistance was not dramatic. It was practical. She remembered the cost of opening up, the long nights of questioning herself, the slow rebuilding she had done alone. Letting someone in again felt like risking the fragile balance she had worked so hard to create. But Jonah did not push. He did not ask. He existed near her, present and respectful, and somehow that made it harder to ignore the pull she felt. The cafe was busiest in the mornings, but the afternoons belonged to quiet conversations and sunlight stretching lazily across tables. One afternoon, as Mara wiped down the counter, she noticed Jonah helping Eli practice reading. The boy stumbled, frowned, and Jonah waited patiently, offering encouragement without pressure. Mara felt tears surprise her, not because of sadness but because of the tenderness of the moment. It reminded her that love could be gentle, that care did not have to be loud or demanding. She found herself sharing small pieces of her life with Jonah over time. Nothing deep at first, just fragments about her favorite books, her habit of walking in the park during lunch breaks, her love for early mornings. He listened with the same attentiveness he gave his son, and it made her feel seen in a way she had not allowed herself to feel in years. Still, she kept the door mostly closed, speaking carefully, retreating when the conversation drifted too close to anything vulnerable. Jonah carried his own weight. Being a single father was not something he advertised, but it shaped everything he did. He spoke about schedules, school projects, the challenge of balancing work and parenting, all without complaint. There was a quiet exhaustion in him, but also a sense of purpose that anchored him. Mara admired that strength, even as it frightened her. Strong people could still leave. Strong people could still hurt you without meaning to. One bright afternoon, the cafe was nearly empty, the sun high and generous. Jonah sat at his usual table, Eli at school, the room filled with the low hum of the espresso machine. Mara felt an unfamiliar urge to be honest, to name the wall she had built instead of pretending it was not there. The words formed slowly in her chest, heavy and fragile. She shared, in careful language, that she had not allowed a man close to her heart in 2 years, that she had chosen safety over connection, that it was easier to be alone than to risk being broken again. She did not dramatize it. She simply let the truth exist between them. Jonah did not react with surprise or pity. He received her truth with respect, acknowledging it without trying to fix it. He shared that his life had changed abruptly too, that becoming a single father had forced him to grow in directions he had never planned. There was no promise in his presence, no demand. Just understanding, offered freely. From that day, something softened in Mara. Not completely, not all at once, but enough that light could reach places that had been sealed off. She began to look forward to Jonah's visits without guilt. She allowed herself to imagine small, harmless possibilities, like shared walks or quiet afternoons. When she caught herself smiling for no reason, she did not immediately shut it down. The challenges did not disappear. Mara still had moments of panic, flashes of memory that reminded her why she had built her walls. There were days when she felt overwhelmed by the idea of letting someone see her fully, days when she considered retreating back into her carefully controlled solitude. Jonah, too, struggled with the fear of balancing his own needs with his responsibilities as a father. He worried about disrupting Eli's sense of stability, about introducing change too quickly. But they moved slowly, guided by daylight and patience. They met in public places, shared simple moments, allowed trust to grow without force. Mara learned that healing did not mean erasing the past but carrying it differently. Jonah learned that it was possible to open his heart again without compromising his role as a father. Eli, perceptive and gentle, sensed the warmth between them. He gravitated toward Mara with the easy acceptance of a child who had learned early the value of kindness. She found herself caring for him naturally, surprised by how right it felt. The fear she had expected did not arrive. Instead, there was a quiet joy in being part of something that felt honest and hopeful. As the seasons shifted, the cafe remained a constant, bathed in daylight, a witness to small transformations. Mara laughed more easily. Jonah seemed lighter, more at ease. They did not rush toward labels or declarations. They let the relationship unfold at its own pace, trusting the process, honoring the fragility of what they were building. Near the end of summer, on a particularly golden afternoon, Mara realized she was no longer measuring every interaction for risk. She was present, fully, feeling both the vulnerability and the strength that came with it. She understood then that letting someone in did not erase her independence or her hard-won peace. It added to it. Love, she learned, could be an expansion rather than a loss. If this story has begun to stir something inside you, if it reminds you of your own guarded heart or a second chance you are still considering, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and let us know your thoughts. Stories have a way of healing when they are shared. Just before we reach the end, we have one special request for you. Please leave a comment below and share whether you believe people can truly start over after heartbreak. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. Mara stood one afternoon by the cafe window, watching Jonah and Eli walk down the street together, sunlight outlining their figures. She felt a calm certainty settle over her, not the loud certainty of fairy tales, but the steady assurance of something real. She had not let a man into her life for 2 years, and when a single father entered, he did not demand space. He earned it, gently, patiently, in the light of ordinary days. And in choosing to open her heart again, Mara discovered that some of the most profound changes begin quietly, with kindness, and with the courage to believe that healing is not only possible, but waiting.